Hello? You can hear me? Okay. All right. Um, Good evening, everyone. My sincere apologies for the tardiness. That one's on me. Councilmember Letterju was here on time. And so let's get this meeting underway. And I will call it to order at 6:14 local time. And we'll then move right along to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Subcommittee members, council members, I did speak with Councilmember Palmeros this evening, and he indicated that he roughly should be here in about 30 more minutes. So I just wanted to give you that little update.
Thank you, City Attorney Nebb. Having done the Pledge of Allegiance, we will proceed with a roll call.
Councilmember Letterju. Here. Councilmember Matias.
Here.
And we know that Palmeros will be late, so thank you.
Thank you for that. And then proceeding over to item 4, we will have the approval of the meeting minutes. Please take a look at our most recent meeting minutes for March 4th. And after you've done so, I will entertain motions. And if there's any members of the public that catch anything on there that you think needs to be corrected, you guys are more than welcome to come up to the podium and let us know. So again, we're looking at the March 4th meeting minutes. I guess I have one question for staff. So who's providing an update on the traffic safety item from last month? Because we have like several action items that were listed on here. And so I just want to better understand what's the vehicle for this committee to receive updates on those items.
So as I understood it, CM Matthias is for next month, the traffic safety.
Okay.
Is that correct?
I think so, yes.
Okay, and then we'll have Lieutenant Huff give you an update on that.
Okay.
For next month.
All right. Sounds good.
So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Thank you. And I'll second that. Can we have a roll call on the approval of the meeting minutes, please? Roll call on the approval.
Yep. Councilmember Matias.
Yes.
Councilmember Letterju.
Yes.
Thank you. So those meeting minutes are approved for the March 4th meeting. And that gets us over to item 5, which is the Operations Bureau Monthly Statistical Report. This report is a standing agenda topic and covers many topics, which include staffing, crime trends, collision data, and overall department activity. So we're going to hand that over to our VPD staff, and then we'll also give an opportunity to the general public to ask questions and to also share general comments on this item. So with that, Captain, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Deputy Chief Knight apologizes for not being here tonight. I am Captain Jerome Bautista. I'm in charge of Operations Division, and I'll be going over our Operations Bureau report. So in the agenda packet, we have the 2025 year-end date report, which is this report here. And I believe Deputy Chief Knight already covered that during our last meeting. And during the last meeting, he advised that we would be going to a new format, which is January 2026 for the Operations Bureau report. And this is year-to-date for January 2026. So we don't have the latest one because our crime analyst is just getting caught up with gathering all the data, and he's a little bit behind. So I apologize for not having that latest one. But for January 2026, dispatch fielded 12,144 incoming calls and created 5,370 incidents. With regards to traffic, 70 collisions were taken and only 2 fatal collisions were documented. However, those have risen, and Lieutenant Huff can advise on the latest update with regards to that. Also, with regards to abandoned vehicles, we started off with over 4,000, and as of January 2026, there were 1,856 pending. And I believe that number has actually been reduced even further as well. With regards to crime trends, so in January 2026, we did not have any homicides. However, we did have one in March. So that is not reflected in this current document. Rapes, other sexual assaults, simple assaults, and kidnapping and abductions and domestic violence have all risen. However, robberies, aggravated assaults, burglaries, larcenies, and stolen vehicles and arsons, along with auto burgs and shooting cases, have all declined. In this new format, it actually shows the number of crimes with their corresponding beats. So I know the citizens were very much interested in that, and so we have changed the format to reflect those numbers. So I'll go ahead and go into staffing. Right now we have 79 sworn officers. We actually had one of our sergeants retire recently, so we were at 80, but now we're at 79. 39 of those officers are currently on patrol, with 3 on FTO, field training, and expected to be solo in the end of April or early May. We currently have 7 recruits in different academies. We had 8 during the last meeting. However, 1 has since resigned from the Alameda County Academy. 2 of the recruits are in the Sacramento Sheriff's Office Academy, graduating in April of this year. 1 is in the Alameda County Academy, graduating May of this year. 2 are in the Sacramento PD Academy and graduating July of this year. And another 2 are also in the Alameda County Academy and graduating August 2026. So just to give everyone an idea of how we provide assistance with our recruits and trying our best to ensure success, depending on the time of their hiring, we actually provide our recruits with pre-academy training and physical fitness training as well. When they do go to the academy, we do regular check-ins with the recruits as well as the recruit training officers to discuss any deficiencies, and we provide them any additional training to make sure that they're able to pass the academy. All right. And during the last meeting, Dr. Lejeune, I believe you asked for an aging report with regards to our evidence tows. So regarding our tows that are investigations related, in 2015 we have 1, 2016 we have 2. I could provide you this list as well. 2017, 1, 2018, 2, 2019, 6, 2020, 12, 2021, 4, 2022, 8, 2023, 12, 2024, 34, 2025, 21, and 2026-2. And those are for investigations, evidence tows. With regards to traffic tows, we do not have any from 2016 to 2021. In 2022, there are 4. 2023, there are 2. 2024, there's 1. 2025, there are 8. And 2026, there are 3. And I wanted to go ahead and direct your attention to Lieutenant Huff, who can provide us an update of what we're doing to increase our capacity on evidence tow storage.
Good evening, everyone. I met with the City Attorney's Office last week with the purposes of rewriting our current Vallejo Police Department tow contract or tow agreement with the tow yards. Within that agreement, we tried to make several changes that will allow for various capacity issues within the tow yard so that we have more ability to tow. I think we currently have 6 police assistants working full-time on patrol. So in their downtime, they are able to work the abandoned vehicle list from C-Click Fix. And that's in addition to the part-time cadet and the full-time senior police assistant that's assigned to the traffic division, working off of the C-Click Fix list. With regards to some of the other things that Captain Bautista mentioned earlier, unfortunately we are actually already up to 6 fatal collisions for this year. And the C-Click Fix abandoned vehicle list is actually closer to 1,300 right now. So the report from January obviously is a little bit old, but we are catching up.
Thank you, Lieutenant Huff. And Lieutenant Catham, did you want to provide us with an update with our efforts to reduce the amount of evidence tows?
Yes, good evening. Lieutenant Josh Catham, I am in charge of the investigations division. Typically the way we are dealing with towed cars for evidence are we'll tow it, we'll process it, we'll search it, and then it's generally no longer an inside tow. It's stored outside at a lesser rate. In order to release these cars, the way we're doing it now is we need to contact the DA's office, get permission to release the car. The DA's office, in doing so, needs to contact the defense to make sure they have an opportunity to look at the car. One of the problems we're running into is a lot of these cases are not filed with the DA's office. Therefore, they've never seen the report because there is no suspect to prosecute. Since they've not seen the report, they still need to reach out to the defense to see if they want to have an opportunity to look at these cars. However, the defense hasn't seen the report. We can't turn the report over because it has investigative leads in it, and therefore no one from the defense is assigned to it. So the vehicles end up sitting in storage. In the past, in prior years, what we would do is tow the car, process the car, and then treat it similar to a house or a crime scene. Once it's been photographed, the evidence was collected, the DNA swabs were taken, and whatever needed to be searched was searched, we would then leave the scene. We would leave the house. That's how we were treating the cars in the past. We would search them, process them, photograph them, then release the car. Because everything of value had been, for the case, had been taken out. Given certain events, the process is now us working with the DA's office before we release these cars. In filed cases, the DA's office has been pretty good about working with the defense to get the cars released. However, in a large number of them, the DA's office wants to keep the car in case it goes to trial and they need the car for trial. We're currently trying to work out a deal with the DA's office that if it is a filed case with the DA's office being prosecuted, after 30 days of storage, the DA's office would then pick up the storage fees. But that's still in the works and it has not been approved yet.
Thank you, Lieutenant Catham. And that is all I have for the operation report update.
Thank you so much for that. Before we bring it back to council question, comments. I want to open it up to the public just to make sure we're taking in your comments and also your questions to address. And so, do we have any members of the public that would like to address, whether that's staff or the committee? Please come up to the podium, please.
Through the chair, please ensure that the microphone is turned on. There's a little switch on the handle that you can press.
My name is Richard Heibels. Some people know that I've been pestering the police department for 7 or 8 years now, nearly 8 years. And I'm just here to say that we really are making some progress. November of 24, there were 4,000 reports behind. And today I had the exquisite pleasure of running into the senior police assistant who was actually had the owner of a eyesore that I have to look at almost daily, giving him the word. And so I got to speak to her for a few seconds, and she told me that we're now 1,200 reports behind. And once they get caught up and they're not chasing GOAs, gone on arrivals, it's going to be a completely different thing. So I'm very pleased about that. And thanks to Lieutenant Huff for answering all my emails. Deputy Chief says I'm an expert on this subject, and I'm getting more expert.
I would concur that you are.
Hey, good evening. It's great to see so many people here. Last month, I spoke about traffic safety, and there had been 5 traffic fatalities, and I said it was a crisis. Since then, there's been another, so that makes 6 traffic fatalities in the first couple months of the year. That's a crisis, and it can be fixed. The most recent one, I believe, took place on Georgia Street, as did the 5th one. The 5th one was a single car accident with a elderly person. None of this gets the publicity it should. I go out to those places and leave flowers like there are for murder stuff, but it doesn't get publicized. People don't get outraged like with gun violence or potholes. And I'm saying that something can be done. When there were meetings about the gun violence, a bunch of money was assigned to projects that did not even have any direct connection to gun violence. Gun violence has multiple different facets. We can do something about these fatalities by lighting Vallejo, and it needs to happen through leadership and conviction, because it's not going to happen through complaints. It's not something people complain about. There should be $1 million of Measure P money allocated for a Light Vallejo initiative. Just get it done. Do it. We will all be so much safer, and I believe it will assist the small businesses and all the businesses, cut down on impulsive crime and everything. But most of all, there's no reason for people to be crashing their cars all by themselves when it can be so easily remedied and there's money to do it.
Thank you both. Any other members of the public would like to address the committee or staff? Going once, going twice. All right, so I will. I'll close it for now, and then if there are any folks who want to chime in, you're more than welcome to raise your hand, and we'll bring you up here. So we're gonna bring it back to the committee members. And I will begin with Councilmember Letterju for any. Oh, you want me to start? Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and get us underway here. So, just deep appreciation for the progress that you guys are making. I have some quick questions when it comes to the crime report. So I appreciate that you guys are giving us the breakdown of kind of what's going down in each of the beats, but would you be able to specifically, like, point me to geographically some of these beats? Because I know one is my neck of the woods, but then the deeper you go, the more I'm like, I don't know where that is. So it'd just be helpful to have like an overlay in future meetings so we can see where it is. I'm specifically interested in these areas. So I'm seeing a high number for aggravated assault in 5. I'm seeing high numbers for simple assaults in 5, 6, and 7. And then maybe we should start there and then I'll keep going. So can you just orient us to what part of town is 5, 6, and 7? And then, like, what are some strategies perhaps that you guys are thinking about to address what seems to be a concentrated level of that kind of activity in that part of town?
Okay. Yes. So beats, excuse me, beat 5 is Central Vallejo. So that is going to be everything west of Highway 80, south of Tennessee Street, and north of Georgia Street. And then beat 6 is primarily downtown Vallejo, as well as the area of Lighthouse, west of Sacramento. Sacramento? Or Sonoma?
Beat 6?
Yes.
Mare Island, all the way to Sonoma Boulevard.
Sure.
If you can imagine the beat system, it's almost like a clock. So beat 1 is the upper east quadrant, which is north of Tennessee Street and east of I-80. Beat 2 is east of I-80 and in between Tennessee and Interstate 780. Beat 3 is going to be south of 780 and east of I-80. Beat 4 is south of Georgia Street, and it's south of Georgia Street, everything that goes down to the Crockett border or the water. Beat 6 is going to be everything that is west of Sonoma Boulevard and south of Sacramento or southwest of Sacramento, including Mare Island. Beat 5 is smack in the middle. It's everything north of Georgia, east of Sonoma, south of Redwood, and west of I-80. And beat 7 is north of Redwood, south of Highway 37, and west of I-80. And beat 8 runs from the American Canyon border down to Highway 37.
All right. Thank you for that. So the follow-up question is larceny. Very high number in my district. So do you guys know if that's like exclusively happening in the commercial area, or are there other parts of beat 1 where you're getting that kind of activity and report out from?
Are you talking about beat 1 only?
Yes.
Or? Okay, yes. Beat 1 actually has a high area of retail, especially in the plaza area, Home Depot, Lowe's, Ulta, Beauty. There's a lot of retail theft in those areas. When we have unobligated patrol time, our watch commanders do encourage our patrol officers to do just retail theft operations where they're providing extra patrols and extra visibility, especially during peak times when there are a lot of shoppers there. And when we do have the ability to do so, we also have our POP team doing plainclothes surveillance to see and stay in the area should any in-progress retail theft occur, and they're able to immediately respond.
And then what about the security guard contract that we have? Is there any deterrence that they're doing in that plaza, or do you have them in other parts of the city?
They're around the entire city of Vallejo, but
Okay.
I believe Plaza area is one of the locations that is in their area of responsibility.
The reason why I'm asking is because, and I shared this at a meeting last week, we have multiple businesses that are opening up shop in the plaza, and it's very recent. So there's a Jersey Mike's opening up in Redwood Plaza. There's a Sky Zone that had its like signage go up. They're on track to open up in May. There's a bakery, Nothing But Cakes. They're opening up next to AT&T across the street from the Starbucks. I love it too, man. They're amazing. It's gonna be a problem for my wallet. They're opening up. They just put their signage up, and I know there is a tenant taking over the old Safeway location. That's a later in the year thing, but they're very much like gonna take over that location. So I just want to make sure, just in terms of the signal that the presentation as a city, right, that we're putting forth, that we do have strong presence in that area, especially for those new tenants that are coming in, and to also keep those folks reassured that any resident that can go there can shop safely. So I just want to flag that for you guys, especially considering all the new business activity in the area, which is great for our city. And then I forgot, there's also and I'm also using this as a public service announcement. So just so everyone knows that there's new businesses opening up. So there's a Paris Baguette opening up at the old Union Bank location right next to the Olive Garden. That's a next year thing, but they've already announced it. They're gonna open up there. And then there's a new restaurant in Hidden Brook opening up. So there's a lot of like new activity in our community, which is great. And I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can from a safety standpoint, and not just for that area, for the entire city. But I'm just calling it out because that 50 number was like a flag for me when I saw it relative to the other numbers. Anything else you want to comment on that, Captain?
Yes, I agree. And we actually encourage all of our patrol officers to do business checks, check in with, the merchants, check in with the retail stores, and see if they have any concerns that we can address, anything that we can assist them with regards to theft investigations, things of that nature. So we encourage them, as well as our POP team, to do regular check-ins with businesses.
Thank you for that. And then stolen vehicles. I even got a request this morning, an inquiry from a resident. Beats 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So there seems to be a lot of perhaps activity on the western part of the city when it comes to stolen vehicles. Any comments from the team around that?
So unfortunately, Vallejo is probably one of the highest areas that have stolen vehicles in all of Solano County. We are combating it with our flock technology, and if you just listen to the radio, we're probably getting several stolen vehicles every single day. So we're more of on the reactive side of things, and if we have more unobligated time to dedicate officers to provide extra patrols in those areas, we will certainly encourage that with them.
Okay. Not to date myself, but growing up in the 90s, we had the lock, the
Yes.
wheel locks. I mean, you guys all remember those. Is there anything on the maybe marketing side that we can encourage? Any proactive steps that we can take, either as a council or as a community, or your department can take to get the word out on just like kind of low-hanging fruit that we can all start to work on to deter some of the stolen vehicle activity?
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't put out some type of, Facebook post or something to that effect, making recommendations. Statistically, if you are able to park a vehicle in a garage, it is much, much less likely to get stolen. It's also much less likely to get stolen in a driveway than on the street. And then there's obviously other safety measures that can be taken, like the club, which I'm well aware of. We're dating ourselves. But car alarms and other technology, such as tracking technology, or even just stickers that say that the vehicle's alarmed.
Thank you for that. So that's all I got for now. I'll come back. Councilmember Lattijo.
Microphone. We have to unmute it. Thank you.
Thank you, Manny. So to that point, when we see these trends, and which was just noted that stolen vehicles are high on the western end, not only, how do we find deterrence, but my deeper question is, do we understand why? I think that's the key, is when we see trends, can we begin to diagnose why does this continue to reoccur? And what can we do about the reoccurrences? I think that's more important. That's what I'd like to know. Why are we seeing these trends in that particular area?
Sure. And there are a lot of factors that can affect why vehicles are stolen. It can depend on the environment. It could depend on the lighting. It could depend on
But as an example, I'm going to stop. I know there are a lot of things, but have we taken the time to go to the western side of our town where we have these high numbers of stolen vehicles to really consider, not surmise, here are the things that reasonably allow this to happen. But if I walk in that part of town, what's going to give me clear indicators that here are some of the probable, most likely reasons why this is occurring? Has anyone done that on the police force?
We haven't taken a deep dive into that.
So I think that's really important. When I see trends in my job, on my watch, I'm looking for root causes, not what the textbook tells me or what we assume based on whatever the reasons are, but really surveying the area and saying, oh, if you go to this particular side of the town where we have had high numbers of stolen vehicles, here are the things that we notice. The lighting is extremely poor. Many of the cars are parked on the street versus there's a high number of vehicles on the street, a high number of, with the residents, they have a high number of vehicles per house. There's not enough sheltered garages and so forth and on. But those are the kinds of things that I want to know. What's attributing to this?
Sure, and we could certainly provide an educational piece to the public. Sergeant Hollis can speak on that with regards to what we're doing with Neighborhood Watch.
Yes, ma'am. Based off of the Neighborhood Watch meetings, we talk to all the neighbors and the captains that provide us with information regarding crimes that are reoccurring in their neighborhood, and that's when we give that's when we're giving the educational piece on how to deter, how to prevent, and best practices like technology, surveillance, tracking, GPSs in the vehicles. We also place flock technology in our most, when we get data collection based off of the analytics that we recover, we put flock technology in those hot areas.
Sorry. And thank you for that. And so, because I think it's really important when we identify what's attributing to this activity, it's not only an educational piece, but also from a city perspective, what else can we do? What can we do as council? What can the police department do? You're not alone in the work. It's a joint effort. And so this is a time to bring forward this data and then say, here's what we know about it. Here's some things that we're going to do from an educational perspective. Here's what we're going to do from a policing perspective. And council, this is what we need from you to help make our city safer, to deter this particular activity within this particular area. Those are the kinds of things that I'd like to hear, because it is a joint effort. It is not just one solution. It's many solutions together.
I agree.
So what I'm asking is, the next time you bring this report and you've analyzed the data, my hope is that you will be able to bring me further information about how we can decrease bad actors, these types of incidents that we are looking at within our community.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that. We don't even have to get cute with some of the stuff, in my opinion. Like, if one of the recommendations is VPD is gonna host an event where we're gonna give out 1,000 clubs, I mean, let's talk about it, right? That could be cost prohibitive to some folks. We want to have that conversation. I think I forwarded the chief and a few other folks an article from a city that was just handing out cameras, Ring cameras, to its residents. It was in the Chronicle just a few days ago. So we want to have those kind of conversations, to Councilmember Ledger's point, to be able to partner and be able to help address some of these crimes. So any recommendations you guys have, not just from a policing standpoint, but also from a program standpoint, like, happy to talk it through in this forum. And then I know we're going to talk about domestic violence. It's on the agenda, so I'm not going to touch on that right now. The only item I have, so I have one abandoned vehicles question and then one recruitment question. So I know many months ago you guys were exploring having a volunteer program to help assist with abandoned vehicles. Is that dead because you have, 6 FTEs helping out? Is that not? Like, I just want to make sure we close the loop with the public around that, because I know that there had been a lot of questions about getting that program off the ground, because there were folks who wanted to help. So.
Yeah, so right now we have the Community Police Academy. The objective of graduating from the Community Police Academy is the graduates who want to volunteer for the city will become one of our volunteers. So in order to be part of our volunteer program, you have to graduate from the police academy, the Community Police Academy. We should be having graduations May 9th. So hopefully we're able to recruit from that Community Police Academy. Going from there, we will have our volunteers go into the community and just check the boxes to see if vehicles are still there. They won't be doing any enforcement. They won't be talking to the community members, but they will provide us a lot of data on which vehicles are there and which vehicles have been corrected. So our traffic division won't be bogged down with see-click fix.
Thank you. And then my last question on recruitment is there a reason why we're not running our own training? I know it's very complex and it's probably very costly and all the things. I have no knowledge of that. I'm just asking a general question, like, what would it take, or why was that ever explored? I know some of you guys have been here for a long time. Is that a conversation you ever had to have academies run out of Vallejo?
That would be awesome if we could do that. Yes, it would be a heavy cost, as well as staffing, because there are during the academies we reach out to a lot of subject matter experts. We reach out to a lot of instructors who provide information on a variety, of different topics that are taught during the academy. And because we used to utilize NAPA's academy, and we have academies close by, it was more fiscally available to us to do so instead of having our own.
Thank you. It's just interesting thing to explore down the line. Councilmember Ledger, any other questions before I bring it back to the public?
Sure. Just want to touch on the lighting piece, and we have at council given direction around the lighting throughout the city that we are expecting some analysis around, and then a campaign of lighting up our city. So I do want to address that because it is very important. And I, for one, when I am driving around the city at night and I can't see the sign, or potentially you have bus stops there and I can only imagine a car coming through or a bus not seeing someone, it is quite dangerous. So as a council member, and I really believe all of our colleagues really take this extremely serious, and we definitely, as just exhibited, want solutions that really help us make our city safer. So this is really important to all of us. So thank you. I have a last question, if you will. As it relates to the storage of evidence vehicles, how soon will we have some real concrete answers around how we truly are going to do this work?
You mean releasing the vehicles?
Releasing the vehicles or charging the DA's office or whomever is asking us to hold them. If
So-
we're going to store for long periods of time, then we need to charge.
No, agreed. So most of the, I don't want to say negotiations, but talks with the DA's office have gone well. We have a final tow letter that we just need to approve and make sure they approve it. And then I assume we need some kind of MOU signed by both agencies. But I don't see that taking, most of that work's been done. Now it's just the approval of it.
So maybe by the next time you come and we come together in, this is April,
I certainly hope so.
so May, hopefully?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay. And if not, definitely no longer than June. I'm putting it on the record for Chief Todd to hear no later than June. Thank you so much for your work. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And before we close this item, the folks in attendance were able to hear all the questions, all the comments, and all the things. Are there any other comments or questions you guys may have specifically on this item before we close it out? Yes, please. It's the Operations Bureau monthly update.
I hope I'm talking at the right time. 5 years ago, a friend of my next door neighbor was murdered in Fairfield when he went out to buy a car with cash. Suspect was caught immediately, still hasn't had a trial, but I don't think we have a community safe exchange zone in Vallejo. A lot of cities do, where presumably be in front of the police station where there's video. Personally, if I'm going to do it, I go over to the Highway Patrol office, but this could save us 2 or 3 robberies a year, I'm sure, because people are buying stuff off eBay all the time. Or, I mean, not eBay, but Craigslist and stuff. Second thing I want to say that with regard to stolen cars, I know a lot about cars. The simple expedient of a hidden kill switch will disable the starter. No matter what they do, it will not start. And I've commented on that on Facebook 1,000 times, and I haven't done it myself either, but I don't think anybody ever does it. But somebody could make some money just offering that service, and that it's foolproof. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hybels. Thank you. Any?
Safe zone is safe way.
Yeah. Any last comments or questions on this item? One, going twice. Yes, Councilmember Ledger.
So just to follow up on the comment around the community safe exchange zone, to the city attorney and and the police department, how can we research this idea and make a suggestion about how this can happen and the various locations it potentially can happen throughout the city, so that we can have a deeper dialogue around it and then take it further to the council, to the larger body. But if we could please do some of that work around what type of ordinance needs to be in place, and then what would be the potential locations for community safe exchange zone. I do know, and I would agree with Mr. Hybels, I have a favorite son who is a sneakerhead, and I remember being at Safeway and wondering who he was talking to and why he was in the Safeway parking lot exchanging shoes. And he made me quite well aware, Mom, I don't want him to come to the house, so therefore I do X, Y, and Z. And, you know, that's very important, but at the same time, it's important that there is safety when these kinds of exchanges are being done, because people have been harmed and have been taken advantage of in these situations. And so I thank you for bringing this idea to us, and I'd like for us to explore it. I think it's extremely important.
I think this is working. I think we can look at both the mechanism for what that looks like in terms of to make that designation, and in working with the police department, look at what possible locations there may be, and bring some just initial, I'll call it scoping type information back to the council to see, do you want to take that further?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for that. Thank you again, Mr. Hybels. All right, so we're gonna move right along to item 6. So we're not here until 1 in the morning. Vallejo's PD enhanced response to the domestic violence initiative. I'll turn it over to PD for a report out. Thank you.
Thank you. So I was unable to make the last meeting due to training, and I gave DC Knight some talking points, but I just wanted to kind of cover what we've done so far and then what we're going to be doing here in the future. And so earlier this year, myself and the DC met with the Family Justice Center, and we came up with a plan on how we might be able to impact some of these rising domestic violence numbers. Part of that plan was implementing what's known as a lethality assessment protocol, which is basically a series of 10 questions or so, and based off a score that the questions provide for the victim, it determines how much danger they're in. The idea is if they reach a certain amount, patrol who responds to these domestic violence calls would be getting an advocate on the phone, giving the victim an opportunity to be in touch with an advocate right after this happened, instead of the next day or days later or ever. So part of implementing that is a 2-day training for a select number of people to then bring it back to the police department to train the entire staff. In the meantime, while that's being developed, we did have advanced officer training on January 26th and February 26th, which covered both sides of the week for patrol. Some dispatchers were able to go, and iHeart was able to go. And that was basically teaching the officers how to respond to a domestic violence incident in the eyes of a victim, like what they're looking for. And they covered this lethality assessment protocol, and the idea was to put this in their heads now before the entire protocol is enacted, to hopefully start getting victims some resources now and not make us have to wait until everyone's had this training to do it. So far, that's been fairly successful with a number of referrals to the Family Justice Center or SANESART, so that's good. Part of the program is to develop a new domestic violence resource card. That is a pamphlet that we handed out at domestic violence calls, and it lists all the resources available to the victim. The problem with that is we're just giving them a pamphlet and then we were leaving. And then it's completely up to them whether they're going to use these resources or not. We've realized that might not be the best way to do it. Unfortunately, that is the only thing required by law for the police to do. But so we're trying to enhance our response to it to try to get victims in the hands of services sooner, because what we found through the Family Justice Center is the police will come out, they'll take a report or they'll arrest someone, but many times once the arrest is made, the suspect is bailed out of jail within a few hours. And if they have been served with an emergency protective order, they're not supposed to go back, but oftentimes they do. And a piece of paper telling them not to might not be enough to keep them away. So the idea is if they're with these advocates are providing the resources, encouraging them to testify, making sure they're safe, and they work with them and the DA's office, because oftentimes they will report domestic violence, but then they won't follow through with the prosecution part of it. So since we've done that, we are updating the pamphlet. It's nearly complete. I have a meeting tomorrow with the Family Justice Center and the new director, French. She also has some ideas about some future steps we can take. I haven't heard them yet, but I am looking forward to the meeting. Once that pamphlet's complete, we will upload it to our website, as well as still pass them out during the domestic violence calls. And then the third thing we want to do is create a QR code that you can just scan with your phone, and it'll take you to the same pamphlet. The idea would be to do some community outreach, put these QR codes in some of the apartment complexes or businesses around town. So if someone wanted the information, it was readily available to them. I also discovered during this research that every agency has their own domestic violence resource card. It would seem beneficial if the county had one domestic violence resource card. So I'm working with the Family Justice Center on trying to push that through. Now, I don't speak for Solano County, but it's not a rare item for us to have a domestic violence victim in town, but they don't live here. Maybe they live in Fairfield, maybe they live in Vacaville. Vallejo resources aren't necessarily the best resources for them if they live in a different city. So a county-wide card seems to make sense. And then as far as the lethality assessment training goes, we're going to be discussing that tomorrow, about a timeline on how long it's going to take to actually complete the training, how many people will need to go to the training. And then once that training is complete, we're going to need to identify some training dates for our officers for our train the trainers to come back and teach them. So at the moment, where we're at is the pamphlet is almost done, and we're looking at getting the lethality assessment protocol training completed for our officers that are going to come back and train our staff.
So I know I read the document, and as you're training up staff, you're going to depend on the different organizations. But at the same time, while you might have trained the trainer, I would like to know how you're going to continue that relationship even once everyone is trained up and you're running your own training. I think it's still very important, with no disrespect. These are the individuals who really support victims, and they're on the ground. This is what they do. This is their life. And our officers, you have many priorities, you're doing many things, and I think that touch point and that relationship, from my perspective, is extremely important, and I don't want to lose that. While I appreciate having trained the trainers, I still want those who do this work every single day and to really be involved in how do we keep that relationship and those calls still moving along and them really a part of the process. And even in the training, and even when you do train the trainer, I think, honestly, when I think about this work, I think we can all agree it's very sensitive, and it's a different level of emotional intelligence that goes along with this type of work, and I think we need to be careful and really be honest about that and think about how does that really translate when I'm in my uniform, I'm in the midst of this versus I'll just use me as an example. If I were doing this work as my profession, it just is a very different levers that you're pushing on from a humanistic perspective, and I don't ever want us to lose that, because from a victim's perspective, that's extremely important, and I think you would agree to that.
Definitely. So are you asking me how we're going to maintain a relationship with our advocacy groups?
How are we going to maintain those relationships? How, even when we are doing train the trainer, that those advocacy groups, even though we do train the trainer, have the periodic opportunity to come in and just do the training. I don't want to lose that connection. I don't believe that there may be some on the force, but I don't believe that that level of competency and deep emotional intelligence around this work will easily exist, and it takes time to develop, and sometimes it may never develop for a lot of reasons. Let's be honest about it.
Yes, so I think most likely I'm the main liaison between the police department and Family Justice Center and St. Sard. So I think the best way to achieve what you're saying would be, sure, we'll send our selected officers to this train the trainer. They'll come back, teach all our people, but then maybe we should explore an annual or a biannual advanced officer training like we did in January or February.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because the other thing is, and I'm not sure of this, is what levers are there, what mechanisms are there when we talk about train the trainer on such a sensitive issue, that since you're the liaison, that you really have enough discernment, a level of emotional intelligence to be able to say, you know, sergeant whomever, officer whomever, yeah, they're trained, you know, we've trained them, they're part of this training mechanism, but maybe they're really not the right fit. You know, I'm being really real here, because this is very important to the success of this type of a program.
So the way I think that would work is if the officer went out to a domestic violence and maybe the victim was less than impressed, that if we still do what we're supposed to do, maybe the officer didn't perform their best, but we do get them in touch with this agency, and then this agency comes back to me and says, hey, here's the case number, this officer didn't do very well, that's then something for us to explore. And we have the ways to do it. There's body cam footage, we can see how they performed, and if they need additional training, that's totally achievable.
Okay. And that's good to hear. It's, you know, you have body cam and you can look at that. And I just really want there to be control mechanisms that are really measuring for the emotional intelligence that this work is required. And I'm not I'm not wanting to make it sound negative, but this is just reality. It's a very different type of work, and everyone doesn't sign up for that work. And there are situations that happen over and over in the field. Let's be honest. You can come to someone's house 10 times, and me, the officer, I'm like, why are we here? That happens. And we want to be cautious, because I don't care if it takes 25 times for you to knock on the door. Maybe that 26th time is the time that victim then says, this is serious and I want out. You know, but we don't get to measure that. That's not our right or role. Our role is to provide service, and sometimes as human beings, we just don't get over those humps, and it's just real.
Yeah, I would not disagree with you. I think the purpose of implementing all this stuff is the hope that it doesn't take 25 times. Mm-hmm. Let's get it. Hopefully it never happens again, but if it does, can it just be once and we get it taken care of, and then we don't have to deal with it, and the victim doesn't have to deal with it, and it gets adjudicated however it gets adjudicated through the courts. Maybe they end up being back together, but hopefully there's some counseling or something that has to happen, and that's the last time that happened. That's the point of the program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Letichu. Before I ask any questions or make any comments, I want to open it up to the public on this item. Any comments or questions, any members from VEST, St. Sar, any of the organizations that have been in attendance over the past couple of months would like to come up to the podium and share any comments with us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tanya Brownrigg, founder and executive director with VEST. I would like to know what domestic violence survivors have you worked with on this plan? Because I didn't hear you mention SafeQuest, Save, or VEST when you spoke about the referral process or the protocols. As a survivor, 25 years post my domestic violence situation, you mentioned about referring to FJC and SANE-SART. Neither one of them are providers for domestic violence.
So in working with SANE-SART and Family Justice Center, my understanding of the role of the Family Justice Center is correct. They are navigators that then assist these victims with the resources outside of their agency.
Correct. So VEST has a domestic violence advocate station at the Family Justice Center in Fairfield. So what's going on is Vallejo PD is referring clients from Vallejo to Fairfield to meet with a VEST advocate in Fairfield, and we have 4 advocates here in Vallejo. We have a full comprehensive program, free therapy, weekly support groups, domestic violence education workshops, peer counseling, emergency housing assistance. So all of these programs, and I'm bringing this up because a lot of times when victims have to travel to another city, they rather not. So then they don't seek the services and they go back home to their abusers.
So let me ask you this then. What is the best way for the police department to get a victim in touch with you? I have written a proposal. It's still under review. I did include your organization in it as one of the potential community allies.
Okay. Well, we get some referrals from iHeart.
Okay.
And Vallejo PD has my information. We've been in contact. And they can contact us on our crisis line, or they can send the victim to 1219 Monterey Street in Vallejo. We're open.
VEST 24 hours is the crisis line 24 hours?
It is not 24 hours, but we do have the framework to open that line as necessary.
Okay.
Yes.
Will you get referrals from SafeQuest?
Yes, we get referrals from SafeQuest for our support group and our emergency housing. At times they need to send clients to us because they don't have the funding to put them up in a hotel for 7 days. And they also don't have a weekly support group. We're the only DV agency in the county that has domestic violence education prevention workshops, which is an 8-week program, and weekly support groups. So we do receive referrals from SafeQuest, and we work directly with them.
Okay, so as it stands right now, SafeQuest is the number our officers are calling because it's the only 24-hour number available, and that's who we're putting them on the phone with.
Okay.
And I'm more than happy for SafeQuest to reach out to your organization because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, and that's fine. I just want you to understand a lot of times if you're sending the clients to SafeQuest, a lot of times they don't have the shelter to put them in, right? So they're coming to VEST or they're going outside of the county for shelter.
Sure.
Yeah, so yes, you have a number you're referring clients to, but they're not always receiving the services because of capacity, right? So I'm sharing that we have the capacity. We have 3 interns that are there Monday and Wednesday and 1 that's there Tuesday and Thursday.
So then would we be better served having a meeting between your organization and SafeQuest?
I think you'll be better served with making sure the victims have all the numbers that are available to them.
That's the purpose of the revamped resource card and the QR code.
Okay.
And us reaching out to someone who can put a victim in touch with someone like you or someone else. Absolutely. That's the point.
Okay.
So can we,
understood.
one moment.
Okay.
So I think what's really important is on your list, you say potential, and the police department and VEST have a sit-down meeting before this policy is finalized, because she is a provider in our city, and she's very open to how she best can serve the community. So if you all could get together and have a dialogue and work through this policy and what's possible with her service, that would be good. And then bring it back to share what your solutions are, and then how best we can give additional direction and go forward.
Sounds good. I have one other question about the lethality assessment. What happens after the officer completes that?
So, based off the score, if they reach a certain level, then, and the danger is considered high, then they call the 24-hour Safe Quest line and get the victim on the phone with an advocate in that moment.
Okay.
If they don't reach that level, we still offer them the advocacy. And to be fair, I haven't taken it yet, so I don't know. But
okay, understood.
I don't know that the phone call happens. So.
Yeah, I'm just asking because I have a program with the Sonoma Family Justice Center, district attorneys at Santa Rosa PD. Our advocates do not take the lethality assessments from the police department because a lot of them are not trained or capable. My advocates currently do not take the lethality assessment. We have a high-risk case manager that we designed the program around. So I just wanted to share that with you all. Yeah. Everybody's not capable of doing those assessments and making the right decisions. And we have to make sure the advocates are also trained.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for that. Just a couple of quick points I want to make. And I've made this, I've shared this in council meetings, and I've also shared it in this space. Unfortunately, the city of Vallejo does not have a strong, and I don't want to dismiss or not acknowledge the incredible work that many of our nonprofits, our community leaders, a lot of our folks have been doing here for a very long time. But unfortunately, they have not been supported to have strong organizations. Sometimes one person's having to do work on 4, 5, 6, 7 different issues. They don't have support staff behind them. They don't have an organization behind them to be able to, provide those services full time and to be able to serve the community in the numbers that the community needs to be served. And I share that with you because VEST is the perfect example, and we're going to have Center for Urban Excellence later in the meeting, of an organization that we want to continue to partner with to build up their capacity so that they're able to serve more folks in our community in the same way that the center is doing so and has been doing so with increasing capacity over the past couple of years. That's the only way I think we're going to be able to see a substantial reduction in these numbers long term. If we're just kind of staying in that phase of just building the plane while we're flying it, and we're not putting structure behind it, I think we run the risk of seeing what we're seeing right now, which is a spike in domestic violence cases again. So that gets me to point number 2. Obviously, we want to build a strong infrastructure in the city of Vallejo, so we have providers, like whether it's domestic violence, whether it's like workforce development, you name the issue, we have nonprofits that are doing the work. They're adequately resourced and staffed, and they're able to serve community. At the same time, in hearing a lot of the steps that you're taking over the next couple of months, one of the things, to Councilmember Lediju's point, that I want you guys to think about is like, how do you make sure that this work outlasts you, right? What is the structure that you're putting as you're thinking about the program? These are the number of trainings we're having every year. For new officers that are coming off of field training, right, or from out of the academy, this is what the onboarding process looks like right now, and this is how we're phasing in the training of the assessment into their onboarding. Like, these are all things that, in addition to the work you're already doing, we have to think through to be able to make sure that this is weaved into the new culture of the department and that they're adequately prepared as they're going out into the street to deal and respond with the sorts of cases that we have in our community. And so that's obviously above my pay grade. Y'all have your own structure inside, but you guys just want to be thinking about that. And at the same time that you're updating the card, the resource card, at the same time that you're having meetings with all of these organizations, and at the same time that you're actually responding to calls. Like, I think the structure, the process, that infrastructure that we're building as a city, whether that's inside of VPD or outside, is just as important as the work that's taking place on the ground month to month. And my last comment is, for a series of months, we talked about sex trafficking, and one of the things that the sergeant was able to push forward with other folks on his team was a marketing campaign. You guys have a billboard up right now. So you suggested putting some of these QR codes inside of like apartment complexes, community spaces, right? These numbers are alarming, and I don't expect them to come down with all of the pressures that we have like in our society right now. You got gas almost hitting $6 a gallon, groceries through the roof, a lot of stressors. And so to the extent that we can get the word out in many different ways right now, and it doesn't have to be, I know you guys put proposals together, but how can you use the council as a partner? How can you use the city management team to get information out? We need to make sure that folks know that these resources are available and that you guys are partnering with these organizations, because there's just a lot of stress in community and across the country. And if folks don't know that this work is taking place, they may be caught in a really bad situation and not know where to go, and where to go immediately. So just want to encourage you to really think about how to use the 7 of us as partners. And it could just be sending us an email and saying, hey, we need you to share this on your socials, or we need you to show up at this event and talk about this. Because, just to start the year, we're already 35% ahead of the 25 numbers. And that was before everything that happened in March just hit, and what we're all experiencing right now. So just something for you guys to think about. And that's all I got on this item. Councilmember Lett, did you any other comments or questions? Members of the public, any other comments or questions? Yes, sure. And then we'll close this item and go to 7.
Hello. Is this on? Okay. So my name is Marissa Serafino. I serve on the Human Relations Commission, but I'm here today on being a domestic violence victim. So there was an incident back in January. I don't know if there was someone that was shot in the leg right in front of the VPOA, the police officers' union building or whatever. That was due to a domestic violence issue that I was the victim of. Unfortunately, the evening before that had happened, somebody was in a psychosis. Several businesses had called in to say, hey, there's an issue going on here. And I spoke about this at the city council meeting before. I'm just going to give you a breakdown of just how it worked out for me. So I ended up walking to the police station because nobody came. And I was like, they're going to come this time because I'm on the Human Relations Commission now. I changed my life around, And I ended up walking with no shoes on to the police station, glass in my feet. Because no one was showing up, and I just ran. I figured you guys were that close, kind of close, I sat out there for 2 hours, and then I just ended up walking to a friend's house. I know you guys were really busy. I know it's, I'm just giving you what happened to me. And so the next day, the gentleman was still in my vehicle, which was demolished, and I pissed somebody off and ended up getting shot in the leg. He was fine, but I happened to be, I just left the police department, filing a report saying the gentleman's still in the car. They still hadn't come yet, but yet when the whole force showed up once he got shot, though, every single person. And I will say there was an officer that was training that took my report, and a couple other officers were there, and they were laughing and joking. And I'm like, how can you be laughing and joking at a time like this? And so due to that, what ended up happening was I'm not really sure, like where his steps were, but with me, I was the officer followed up, asked me if I wanted a temporary restraining order. I looked up my own resources. I contacted the DA's office myself to find out about victims of violent crime. I was trying to figure out how I can get this car back. Thank God, back in the day, I actually had a really good experience with Darden, and we've always stayed, cool. And he actually paid my tow fees. They were going to try to make me pay for my own towing fees for the car, and so he helped me with that. I contacted SafeQuest, I contacted Family Justice Center, I contacted VEST, and you guys did some follow up. At the time, I believe Family Justice Center just didn't have a lot of money, but it was in Fairfield. I had to find a ride to Fairfield. I didn't have a car, so and going forward, I'm still working with victims of a violent crime to even just get some of the some of it back. It's a tough road to go on. Sorry, my time's up, but I just wanted to give you guys an idea of just exactly, as a victim, what my process was. So I will say this also. I also have called several times, like at a hotel, because that's what I had to go to get away. Where they probably were human. I don't know if they're human trafficking victims or, I will say that I watched. We would listen to them. We called in. We would listen, banging on the door like, hey, because we could hear there's something going on in there. The cops honestly didn't come till the next morning. By that time, the girl's gonna be like, oh no, I'm fine, everything's fine. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna say what I've noticed, the response time, and I know you guys are busy, but the response time on domestic violence calls, unless somebody says that there's a gun, and that's like this known thing now, unless you say you have a gun, they're not gonna show up that quick. You know what I mean? So now people are like, I'm just gonna say he has a gun, and I'm sure you guys are getting calls like that where they're saying that and there's no gun, you know what I mean? Because they think that that's the only reason why you guys are gonna come in these domestic violence issues, from my experience. But I just wanted to give you my experience, and I think you guys do a great job. I think you guys have a lot on your hands. I spoke to get you guys to help get the sheriffs at the Board of Supervisors meeting. And I just think that when it comes to these calls, that there just needs to be a little more empathy, a little more understanding, and in the response time. I know it takes a while, but I just feel like the response time is just so long that people are just like, I'm not even going to call. It's not, So I just want to give that opinion, and I just want to let you guys know. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing, really, and know that we're having these conversations. We're very much in a learning phase, and we're going to keep improving and getting better at the work that we're doing together as an agency. And I'm really sorry you had to experience that. So with that, yes, Councilmember Ledger.
I think you're doing this, but I may be wrong, is how are you all getting together with all of the service providers around DV, and how are you all coming together outside of this meeting, outside of the attendance of the service providers that have been very faithful in attending? How are you actually getting together and having deeper dialogue around the issue of domestic violence, sex trafficking, as we continue to move forward the different initiatives?
Well, of course, there's always room for improvement, but right now we're utilizing iHeart, and we are developing a pamphlet. I didn't want to speak to in the future, but we are working with Sweet Treatments, and there's a family resource pamphlet that's already created, and we included VEST into that pamphlet. We're working with that with the city, with iHeart, with in the county to create that, and it will have a QR code as well.
Okay, so but I mean, just in the broader context, we meet once a month, but in a broader context, so that the dialogue is ongoing, and even some of it is even before this meeting, bringing VEST and SafeQuest and SaneSart, not having one-off conversations, but having holistic conversations and creating a roundtable, so that as we continue to do this work, as council members, you're theoretically, we're sitting with you once a month at this meeting, but I would like there to be a roundtable around these two subjects with all of the service providers everyone in the room and really talking through issues and experiences and potential cases. I think it's really important because then we're not creating policy or next processes with limited input, but we have a whole group that are in partnership with one another. So I'd like for you all to consider that and determine how you best can achieve that.
Yes, ma'am. We'll take that back to the drawing boards.
Thank you, Councilmember. So with that, we will move to our action calendar this evening, and we only have one item, and that is gun violence reduction strategies, violence intervention support, improving our neighborhoods presentation, and hospital violence intervention, a presentation on that as well. Before you guys get underway, I think it would be helpful, Captain, if you were to just share some general information of how this work got to where it is, and then what you're hoping to get from members of the public and the subcommittee this evening.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course. So Vallejo PD has been working with Q ever since last year, probably even longer, to find a solution for to reduce gun violence. And with that, Deputy Chief Knight actually came up with the acronym of VISION, Violence Intervention Support Improving Our Neighborhoods. And the philosophy behind that is that you could only police your way through so much gun violence. And it's going to take a different approach for us to actually, if not solve, but at least reduce gun violence. And that different approach would be heavy support within our community and support and services from community-based organizations. And so I wanted to direct everyone's attention to this graphic right here. And this is basically the framework of vision. So first we have intelligence analysis, and then we have custom notifications. After that, we have support services. Then we have the accountability piece, which is prosecution. And lastly, we have successful transition. And I will go into this further in the presentation, as well as our partners over at Q. So with that, I'd like to start the presentation, if that's okay. And Manny, if you wouldn't mind queuing up the PowerPoint presentation.
Bear with me one moment, Captain Bautista.
No worries, thank you.
You want us to take, Manny, do you want us to take a 3-minute recess on this one?
Yes, please. The Beautification Commission also just ended, so we're getting the camera team on this meeting as well.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a 3.5-minute recess and reconvene at 7:40. Thank you. Manny, checking back in with you. Are we ready to roll?
Yes.
All right. Folks can start trickling back in. We can keep. We can continue the discussion. We'll give it about another minute, and we'll restart the meeting at 7:45. All right, Captain Batista. Let's
Yes, sir.
let's continue.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We have the vision PowerPoint presentation for you all tonight. The Vallejo Police Department and community partners are implementing an evidence-based strategic approach to reduce gun crime, victimization, and community fear by identifying the most prolific and repeat drivers of gun violent crime. VPD and its partners will use a collaborative intervention model of support and accountability to disrupt violent behavior. The vision approach. The Vallejo vision model promotes crime prevention, victim and victim family support, education, and accountability through shared messaging and strategies. Vision should be viewed as an opportunity rather than a punitive approach for those who are identified to receive the intervention strategies. Enhanced attention with support services and accountability are key elements of the strategic approach to change behavior and reduce harm to the community and those engaging in violence. Vision candidate criteria and selection. The Vallejo Vision candidate pools will be collaborative determination that is evidence-based upon behavior, the tangible data and information that a candidate has a history and recency of gun violence behavior. The candidate determination will utilize the below criminal behavior criteria along with Center for Urban Excellence's candidate assessments. Vision candidates will be considered through a variety of data points including criminal history, recency, currently engaging in and or a victim of gun violence, police reports, community input, known active gang affiliation, police officer and detective referrals, and criminal justice partners intelligence. The vision candidate intervention and messaging. After vision candidates are identified, the vision support team, consisting of community resource outreach providers and a criminal justice partner, will provide the intervention messaging directly to the candidates. A consistent message to every candidate of support and accountability, face-to-face dialogue at a prearranged location, a neutral location like a community facility, church, etc. A candidate may have a support person present during the messaging, ideally a person who is a positive influential in the candidate's life. Contacting candidates at their residence if needed, and answering any questions, and documentation of the intervention. The Vision Support Team, Center for Urban Excellence, Q, conducts wraparound case management meetings in support of the participant SOPs. VPD makes a referral. VPD informs the individual that they have made the referral and that Q would follow up with them by phone to schedule the initial face-to-face meeting. Q contacts a person by phone within 24 to 48 hours and schedules the face-to-face meeting. Q facilitates the face-to-face meeting, provides the vision letter, and the person completes the intake and assessment. From that point forward, Q will assign a case manager to engage with the person at least once per week for intensive case management support. Post-intervention follow-up. Vallejo Vision recognizes that follow-up with the candidates is critical for legitimacy and success. The Vision Support Team will attempt to establish a follow-up meeting with the candidates to go into greater detail about the opportunities and potentially establish an individual plan for the candidate to receive needed resources. Vision will communicate with all partners about those candidates who have received the intervention. Q will communicate on a regular basis with the notified candidates using a case management approach at a monthly meeting. Vision partners will communicate on a regular basis on the status of the notified candidates. For candidates who may not accept services that are being provided, they will automatically move to the accountability aspect of Vision. Partners at the Solano County DA's office and the U.S. Attorney's office are on board with the Vision program. Services and support will continue to be made available for their family. And for candidates who do not accept services and support but do not reoffend, those are actually considered a successful contact because the customer notifications made an impact. So in closing, Vision is an attempt to do more. Though traditional police enforcement efforts can be effective, they often may not address the root causes of violence and are typically reactive approaches. After the crimes have been committed, prolific offenders who continue their violent activities indicate that current criminal justice and societal applications are not effective in curtailing their behaviors, and extra attention and strategies are clearly needed. Vision is a collaborative approach involving criminal justice partners and community resource providers that aims to deter violence before it happens and to have a generational impact on future violence. As Vision grows, we anticipate collaborating with many more partners in our community to continue to make Vallejo safer. And at this time, I would like to invite members of Q up to talk about their roles in Vision.
Good evening. My name is Raina Robinson, and I'm the founder and CEO of Center for Urban Excellence, which we call Q. So thank you for the opportunity to share who we are, where we've come from, and what we've built in Vallejo. Q's mission is to champion anti-fragility by empowering system-impacted youth and their families across Solano and Contra Costa County through art, wellness, community, and workforce development. In simple terms, we help young people transform adversity into strength, and we build real pathways for economic and social opportunity. Q was founded in 2016 after I recognized a major gap in supports for justice-involved youth and young adults while working inside of the juvenile hall facilities. I saw young people trying to navigate trauma, school disruption, and reentry with very little consistent support, and I knew we needed a solution rooted in care, structure, and opportunity. Our earliest programs started inside of juvenile hall facilities, delivering post-secondary and career readiness and social emotional learning for youth in secure track programs and for young people coming back from DJJ, which included mostly youth who committed 707B offenses. From the beginning, our work has been built to reach young people who are most left behind. Today, Q has grown into a regional organization with a deeply experienced leadership team and a strong track record of results. I bring almost 20 years of community-based youth program design and more than 10 years of justice services program design, implementation, and evaluation. Our Chief Education Officer brings over 25 years of public policy and community building, who has dedicated her career to educational stability for foster and 602 youth across the Bay Area. Our Chief of Public Health and Safety, Deon Carter, who's going to speak next, brings over 15 years of experience in community violence intervention, homelessness prevention, and capacity building. We have a workforce officer who has over 13 years experience in workforce development, supporting system-impacted youth specifically with barriers to employment and guiding them into training and jobs. And lastly, our Chief Operating Officer has spent the last 8 years supporting youth with barriers to post-secondary and career readiness, and she volunteers with the Contra Costa District Attorney's Office, facilitating restorative justice circles to help reduce harm and support community healing. With a wealth of lived experience, direct service providers, many of which were here today, who had to take off because they got to feed their babies. We continue to professionally develop with community health worker, motivational interviewing, and trauma-informed case management trainings. What makes Q effective is that we deliver healing-centered case management that removes barriers in real time, like transportation, documentation, legal issues, training access, while building skills, confidence, and community connection. We connect young people to therapy, sober living housing, short-term certifications, paid or subsidized work experiences, career exposure, and education pathways, while also using art and wellness as tools for resilience and leadership. Vallejo's young people deserve more than survival. They deserve stability, belonging, and a real shot at thriving. So Q is proud to be a trusted partner to the city and the community, and we are ready to continue expanding opportunities that reduce harm, strengthen families, and create long-term social mobility. So thank you for your time and continued partnership, and I'll be happy to answer questions at the end if there are any.
So hello, my name is Deon Carter, and I joined the Q team last year in September as the Chief of Public Health and Safety. And since I've joined, we are extending the age of those we support from youth to adults, young adults and adults. And I'm here to speak about the hospital-based intervention. So the Love Hospital-Based Intervention, it's a trauma-informed and community-centered initiative designed to interrupt cycles of violence and promote long-term healing for individuals impacted by violent injuries. The program will launch at Kaiser Permanente in Vallejo, and we have a strategic vision to expand services to the Sutter Medical Center and other regional healthcare partners. The program purpose and vision, we aim to reduce repeated violent injuries, retaliation, and community trauma by engaging patients at the bedside at a teachable moment immediately following a violent injury. And through culturally responsive care and trusted relationships, we seek to transform crisis into opportunity by supporting individuals and their families on a path towards stability, safety, and personal growth. So our program will primarily serve youth and adults, typically ages 12 to 35, who are treated for violent injuries such as gunshot wounds, stabbings, or assault-related trauma. Priority will be given to individuals at highest risk of re-injury or involvement. So the core components of it is the based intervention, we have trained intervention specialists and case managers who will respond bedside to build trust with the patient and their families. And these are credible messengers. Often those with lived experience provide that emotional support, de-escalation, and connection to services. There will also be intensive trauma-informed case management where participants receive individualized care plans that may include mental health and trauma counseling, workforce development and job placement, education support and GED programs, and then also stabilization and advocacy for victim services. And our community partnership network. So this hospital-based intervention will collaborate with local organizations that are connected in the Vallejo Safety and Healing Collective, and those who are not attending the collective, we're still establishing relationships with other organizations that can provide support for them. We also looking at violence prevention and mediation. We'll be working proactively to prevent retaliation, mediating conflicts, engaging peer networks, and promoting nonviolent alternatives. So one of the components of the Vallejo Safety and Healing Collective is the CVI Impact Team. And on that team, we have Keem's Dream. She lost her son to gun violence and understands how difficult it is to navigate the system. She's providing peer support. We also have iHeart. iHeart is going to be doing victim awareness and some restorative circles. We also have VEST, so when we come across a situation where it's domestic violence involved, they'll be able to be involved. We also have the specialty courts that are going to be referring folks to us. And then the implementation strategy is we're in phase 1, we're launching through Kaiser. Phase 2, when we're launching in Kaiser, we'll be establishing some on-site staffing, referral protocols, training some of the social workers on how the protocols work. And phase 2 would be expansion to Sutter. But we want to stick with phase 1 as we are rolling it out. And then we have some contacts at Sutter and possibly North Bay. Right now we're partially funded to do this project. And I've actually met with them several times to get this going. So we're really excited about it. And then our expected outcomes are to have a reduction in repeat violent injury and hospital readmissions, decrease retaliation and community violence. We do have outreach specialists that will work with us. Improve mental health and well-being among participants. What we've noticed with the population that we're serving, that people are really open to healing and receiving the therapeutic support. And I think because the employees of Q have lived experience, we've been able to encourage folks to try it out and see if it helps them, and people seem to be open to it. And then strengthen trust between the healthcare systems. We believe in equity and cultural responsiveness, so this is rooted in a public health approach, not a criminal justice approach. And we acknowledge the disproportionate impact of violence in underserved communities here in Vallejo. And we prioritize the culturally competent care, representation, and dignity, ensuring participants feel seen, supported, have a voice, and feel empowered. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for an outstanding presentation. Before we bring it back to committee comments, I want to see if there were any members of the public that either had comments or questions for staff this evening. I see none at this time. Yes, sure.
Hello, my name is Sebastian Brideno. I'm a reporter for the Vallejo Sun, and I do have some questions about the program that I was told to bring here. So I'm going to ask 3 questions, kind of some clarifications. It's really directed at police to kind of get a better understanding. So the first I want to ask really is just about how the city and police will really maintain this project long term, and what is the pledge to really keep it going and keep funding it. And really why I bring it up is because there were several initiatives that are pretty similar that were launched in the past There was Project Hope, Project Peace. Project Hope got $1.5 million in 2022, and then there was nothing ever heard of it again. There was Advanced Peace. I got $700,000, and all those projects kind of just fizzled out with not much public documentation to show for it. So really the question with that is like, how will we keep it funded? How will we keep it going, especially once the CalVIP money runs out, right? So this program was awarded $2 million through a California state grant. What's going to happen after that money runs out, and how long will that money last? So that'd be my first question. Second question is really about who the program will be targeting. Now I saw that in the what's it called, the visual you guys put out, that it was targeting ages 14 to 25. But last year, 70% of shooting victims were over 30. So I was just kind of curious what the rationale is to that kind of targeting that age group. Just whatever context you have. And then just like kind of general question about what kind of transparency mechanisms will be provided to kind of follow up and see how some of the efforts being put in and some of the results coming out of the program, and also how the money will be divvied up within this $2 million. Really, how much of it will go to community partners, how much of it will go to the services that are mentioned, how much will be going towards law enforcement contacting participants, and or versus providing services. So those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to VPD for a response, and then we can chime in on the council side.
Thank you very much for your questions. I will likely need you to repeat some of them. So as we go on. So funding is, we do have general fund money over 3.5 years, and our council members can elaborate on that. And we will also be having supplemental grant funding through CalVIP. I don't have all of the exact numbers for you, unfortunately, and as well as for how much of those monies will be going towards each allocation. I don't have those specifics for you for this evening. And then, I'm sorry, your second question was
about the participant demographics and why choosing to focus on 14 to 25-year-olds when I said that last year 70% of victims were over 30.
Sure. That was based on crime statistics through our crime analysis, as well as feedback from our partners. And so we could certainly pivot if we're seeing an increase in a specific age demographic, but that was based on those two things.
And then I guess the last question would be like, what kind of transparency measures or updates would you be providing on the program and kind of the results coming out of it? And then I wanted to, you don't have the details, but kind of like what social services will be being provided, the wraparound services specifically.
Okay. So I know your question is directed towards us. However, Dr. Carter and her team would probably be able to answer that even better. I know that, I know your questions are directed for police. However, I just want to reemphasize that the Vision program is, yes, the police are involved. However, it's primarily for just the accountability piece, right? But this is more or less has a focus on the community and support services. That is what we are focusing on. We are here for support and to show that we are working together in this effort. But we are more focused on the services and support that we can provide to these folks and hopefully get them to change their lives. And then Dr. Carter, I don't know if one of you guys wanted to address his wraparound services question.
Yeah.
Trent, for the record, we might need it on microphone.
So basically, Dr. Carter was saying in her spill, she advised you on a lot of the resources that we will be working on and working with. And as far as the transparency, a lot of these are victims, so there will not be a lot of transparency on exactly who we're working with because it's best to serve the victims versus informing the public of them, protect their privacy.
Right. I don't mean obviously to know who was behind it, but just kind of like like some results, right? Like some just statistics type thing.
we will have vague stats on how many people we've helped over the process, but as far as who, when, what, and where will be private.
Through the chair, if I may also add some additional context, the city manager's office is committed to supporting this effort, and the city manager has asked that I help support this by working directly with Q and their supporting partners as well as the police department. I think this is a topic that as we bring our police updates regularly back to council, we can report on high-level stats, scenarios and things that we're working on, obviously keeping the victims' confidentiality and safety at top of mind, but bringing back updates to the community on how it's going, high-level stats, to keep the community better informed. We do understand during the advanced peace process, we received feedback that we didn't share enough of that information and have those learnings and plan to share what we can without putting the victims or the participants' safety in jeopardy.
Thank you. And then I'll sort of share a response, at least from us, and I'm sure Councilmember Ledger will have additional comments to add. When it comes to funding, I will refer you back to a $1.5 million crime mitigation plan that the full council approved last summer. 300,000 of that, of those dollars, were to support the vision effort. And what I would also add is that, in addition to that, the council has made a number of commitments to public safety. In addition to the $1.5 million that we signed off on last year to help augment a lot of the efforts that VPD is pursuing. Now, we have Measure P dollars. One of the priorities identified in Measure P is crime prevention. And so when we talk about long-term funding for a lot of these programs, I think it has to be a combination of grant funding that we're leveraging from our state and federal partners. And at the same time, if public safety is one of our priorities, then we have to be able to set aside dollars at the general fund and at the special sales tax level to continue to fund those long-term. Now, you did speak to some of these other initiatives, and while I can't speak to why these fizzled out, what I will also say is that in the last 6 years, we've had a lot of, just turnover and a lot of different issues we've been grappling with as a community. And so I think that this gives us an opportunity to start a new framework that we are putting sustained funding behind, and hopefully with good staff that's here for the long term, we are able to not just improve as we're learning, but also make additional commitments if we need to make them. And so definitely want to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to that. And then on item 3, when it comes to transparency, I think that there's different vehicles for us to get the word out on the effectiveness of these programs. I think one of the things that this council in particular has been asking for is for us to really identify how we're measuring success. What are the performance metrics, right? And how is that, how does that become a part of a dashboard that gets regularly reported out to the council, that gets reported out to community on websites? I know Councilmember Ledger has been pushing hard on that for well over a year. And so we're in this initial phase where we're trying to figure all these things out in partnership with our CBOs and with VPD and with the council. And so it's going to be an ongoing effort. But I think, I can say on behalf of the full council that we do have a commitment to regularly report out on many of these initiatives and also make sure that that's accessible to the public. And I think just this meeting in itself is one of those efforts that we're pursuing to be more transparent in how tax dollars are being utilized and to what end. I think the rest of the folks already alluded to how they're looking at data to help inform who they're supporting. But what I will also say on that front is that we can't just focus on intervention, right? So you said 70% of our victims last year were over 30. We also have to focus on prevention. And so what are the different programs that we're setting in place to make sure that folks are not, joining gangs or in environments where they may be susceptible to gun violence? And so I think that this needs to be part of layered approach to make sure that we're keeping our kiddos and by extension our population safe. And so this is just one component of that, but I hope we can get to a place in the not so distant future where you're getting a full comprehensive strategy of what we're doing at every step of the way to ensure that we're breaking cycles of violence in our community. Councilmember Lettigiu, anything you want to add on that?
So I thank everyone for the presentation, and I actually did read the policy, and by hearing the presentation, the Q piece, it's very helpful. But one of the things, one of the things I really want to see is, this is really fundamental to me, and that is in the agreement between VPD and Q and whomever else you're going to work with, is what are the metrics that we are looking to see as outcomes. Oftentimes in public service, our contracts, our MOUs are not result driven, and we don't tie metrics closely to the work being done. And this is very important, because when we have metrics and we can consistently report out on those metrics, it really tells us the value of those programs. And when we get to a certain place, it tells us, is our investment working, and should we continue to invest? Because when you think about two programs that existed in the past, I don't know what happened to them. I can surmise what has happened. And so it's so important that if we're going to have programs, we need to be able to measure the success. We need to be able to know where we need to recalibrate. And when you're coming back to council for dollars, I need to know that the program is truly working. And that, I don't know that it's working through, you don't need to tell me who we're serving as it relates to an individual's name. But I do need to know the population, where they live within the community, because it ties back and it has a correlation to all of this work that we're talking about now, right? And I can tie all this work back together that then tells us the work that we're doing, the investment that we're making, is it driving down these different incidents? This is what this work is all about, right? And then as I read the document, I really want to see more clearly, and this team does have that expertise, I want to see, how are we tying individuals to work, training? Because if we look at the social determinants of violence, oftentimes it is predicated based on where we live, how we've been raised, sometimes to poverty, on and on and on. We can look at the social determinants. And to mitigate those social determinants means I'm able to feed myself, I'm able to have a stable place to live, so forth and on. So the program has to have those components along with wellness and so forth and on. And we should be able to really outline, what does that look like? And we may not be doing all of the things, but we should comprehensively be able to say, this is where we're going with this program. So each and every time you come back to me as a council member, I can speak for Tanya, that I'm like, okay, I see the roadmap. And yes, we need to continue to invest. Or while we're investing, we need to recalibrate here. Or we need to add additional dollars because we see the success here and we're missing this piece. This gap will get us even further. And so this is why it's very important how we lay out the MOU, how we lay out the program, even though it might be in a different phase. And I would really like to see that in the document. I think it's really important when we think about the dollars that we're investing. I'd also like to see, as you're in partnership with Q, but I also would like to see us even further rounding out, adding additional providers in the work. as we are moving through the service work. Because this group knows that you have time done, you have different organizations that have different capacities that we need, and that also serve at a different level in terms of age groups and so forth and on as we are doing the work. So I think all of those things are very important as we continue to move towards this work, and you've expanded the age group, which is appropriate. And the focus is really on our youth, because that is really the preventative piece of the work, and being able to catch our youth before they move much further into adversity as it relates to violence and so forth and on. So these are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about when I think about this program, the investment of the program, and continuing to consider how we can deeply invest in the program as we see the outcomes.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Latiju. I have one question for the Q team specifically, and this ties back to a request I made from the council to support a root cause analysis. So I sort of want to pair this up against, and we're going to talk about it next month again, because the RFP will be shared out. It's done. We're just getting feedback from the counselors right now. So I just want to pair up the outcomes tied to this root cause analysis RFP that we want to issue. It's like separate funding from the investment that we made in Vision. But I just want to make sure that we're not engaging in duplication of efforts if it's something that you guys are already pursuing yourselves, or if you do need it, then we will center that next month as a discussion item. So the RFP and the request that I made was to sort of engage a consultant in informing our violence prevention strategy by analyzing the complex factors driving gang-related and youth gun violence in the city, and then identifying populations most susceptible to violence involvement. And the goals are to conduct a comprehensive root cause analysis of gang-related and youth gun violence in Vallejo, building upon existing initiatives that were highlighted by a public speaker, identify demographic, social, and environmental and systemic factors, to Councilmember Letiju's point, that increases susceptibility to gun violence involvement, and then map violence patterns and trends in priority geographic areas, north, south, and west, where we're seeing much of that activity. So in just sharing out sort of the goals of that specific engagement, I sort of want to pair that up with your engagement and see if that is information that would be helpful for you to have as you start your work with VPD, or if that's already something that you have information on and it's accounted for in your scope of work. I just want to get clarity on that, just so that, because if it's not accounted for, then part of what we're going to do next month is actually look at the RFP and then move that process forward. Yeah, come on up.
Well, I would imagine that, because we're not really doing a root cause analysis. I mean, for us, just based on me, my 30 years experience, I kind of know some of the root causes in San Francisco, Alameda County. They're pretty much similar. So we're not doing a root cause analysis, but I do think that the root cause analysis can actually strengthen our work, like once those things are identified, because I would assume that a lot of the folks that we're going to be serving are going to be coming out of those communities that are popping up in the root cause analysis.
Okay.
Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to add that I think that it would be extremely important for whoever that person is that is doing that work to also be from this community.
Yes.
Because the root causes in Vallejo could look extremely different than they do in other cities. While we do have experience in justice services, so we can, which we kind of shared with you, is that we do have just our own personal experience and knowledge of what young people tell us is the reasons they're going through the situations that they're going through. But if we wanted to have something more along the lines of like a professional or academic report, it should be someone who's extremely familiar or even from this community.
Yep. So what I'll do sort of in between meetings, because the team has already looked at the RFP, I'll share it with you between now and our next meeting so you guys can provide input, because this is just meant to support the work that you guys are going to be embarking on. That was really the request. Yeah. That was what it was for originally. So I will share that with you tomorrow, so you can provide input on the draft RFP that we have in place right now. And then what we'll do is have it be a discussion item at our next meeting, at our next safety committee meeting, so we can just keep things moving along. So that's the only comment I have. I'm deeply appreciative of not just the work that has been done to get us here, the planning, the securing of the funding, the collaboration with the CBOs, the push to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable at every step of the agency. And I will also say, Captain, specifically around the metrics, I do know that Councilmember Lettigiou and myself and others have been asking for this for about a year now. You guys can check the tape. So it's not on any of y'all, but I do want to make sure that as you are starting to talk about, what does success look like around DV, right? What does it look like around trafficking? You start thinking, how do we translate that success into actual metrics that we can report back to the council on? Because I don't want to have conversations up there sometimes, which has happened in my time living here, oh, well, this needs to get approved because it needs to get approved. No, we need to make sure we're having a conversation grounded in what problem are we trying to solve for, who's providing that service, and then how are we defining success as a community that can be reported out, not just to the council, but more importantly to community. Because if we don't have that information, then we're just approving things because it is, and I'm not suggesting that's what's happening here, by the way. It's just we're making a change, because that's not what's happening here. We're just making a change in how we've traditionally operated as a council and as a city agency. And so just want to push you guys to really think about brainstorming what some of those metrics are. And if you want to bring it to this space and say, hey, here's what we brainstormed in the past month, what do you guys think? We're more than happy to provide feedback. It doesn't mean that we're going to get it right on the first try, but I think it is something that we're very focused on as a council team, just to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable and also being transparent with the public. So we'll continue the conversation next month. Are there any last comments or thoughts, any next steps you guys want to share out?
I just wanted to confirm for next month where we are talking about traffic safety. Did you want to add this as well now?
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, next month, this item, not only do we want to hear about sort of next steps that you guys are envisioning coming out of your team on the VPD side, but also what are some next steps in terms of moving that collaboration forward with Q and with other partners. And then we also want to review the RFP for the root cause analysis. Those are going to be the two items. And then we can also talk about traffic safety. Any other items, Councilmember Lettigiou? Yeah, and then I'm just looking at the other items. So we have traffic safety. No, we have abandoned vehicles, gun violence, and traffic safety in May. Oh, wow, we're already in April. What is happening right now? This year is just flying by. Okay, so we'll follow up on gun violence, and then we'll do traffic safety. Okay. All right. So with that, we will go ahead and close action item 7A, and then I didn't hear any additional agenda items. So no future agenda items other than the ones that were noted. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:29. I was on time, Councilmember Lettigiou. 8:29 local time. Thank you.